Welcome to Legal Legacy, a podcast based on real property cases resolved by advocate Rubab Humza and her specialized team over the years.
Okay, so the heart of our story today is the Virmanis family. They had a flat in Mira Road, owned jointly by Gautam, the father, and his son Rahul, who actually lives over in Canada. They hit a real snag. Their tenants stopped paying rent for about 9 months, which, is a long time. This pushed them to find professional help, not just to get the property back and recover that unpaid rent, but also to renovate it, find new tenants, and set up a whole system for the rental income, getting it from India all the way to Rahul in Canada.
Yeah, and what's really telling about this case is how it takes a problem that's, frankly, pretty common and often feels paralyzing for NRIs, managing property from so far away, and shows how it can be completely turned around. So this deep dive, we're going to unpack the practical steps involved, the legal bits, which can be tricky, and the whole support system that really transformed this defaulting rental into a smoothly running asset. The aim here is to pull out those key insights, those useful bits of knowledge for anyone out there who might be facing similar, cross-border property headaches.
Absolutely. And central to making this all work was, really outstanding service. We're talking about the specific approach from advocate Rubab Humza and her team. They were incredibly proactive, and they really coordinated things carefully, keeping international time zones in mind, which is just critical when your client's halfway around the globe. Their commitment wasn't just about getting the job done. It was about the whole process, making sure the Virmanis got clear updates at every important stage. It's all about building that trust, that clarity, especially when distance is such a big factor. So let's dig into how this situation actually played out for the Virmanis in Mira Road. As we said, joint ownership, Rahul in Canada, they'd rented the flat out, which is pretty standard. But then, after a few years, the trouble started. The renters began defaulting. And like we said, not just a month or two missed, 9 months of no rent. Now, for our listeners, maybe some are in a similar boat, feeling anxious. What's the immediate impact, emotionally and practically, on an NRI owner in that situation? And what's, the very first big decision they need to make?
That's a really good question. The immediate impact, it's huge stress, a feeling of being completely helpless. You're so far away, feeling disconnected from this asset, and suddenly it's becoming a drain, a liability. So the first critical decision, really, is acknowledging that trying to handle this from abroad without people on the ground who know what they're doing, it's almost impossible. The Virmanis made that key choice. Hire professionals, not just for the rent money, but crucially, to start the process of getting the defaulting tenants out of the property. And that wasn't just a quick chat. It meant starting on the path of navigating India's tenancy laws, which, can be complex.
Okay, so they made that call, the team steps in, and this is where we hear about due legal procedure. Now, that phrase can sound a bit, abstract to some of us. What does it actually mean in a case like this, especially for an NRI owner who's thousands of miles away? What are they being shielded from by having a team handle it?
Right, that's a great point. Due legal procedure for eviction in India isn't vague at all, actually. It's a very structured legal process. It involves specific steps like serving proper legal notices, waiting for legally mandated response times, and then if the tenants still don't leave, potentially going to court to get an eviction order. Now, imagine trying to do that from Canada. You'd need to understand the local Indian laws, find a trustworthy local lawyer, figure out court appearances, or find someone reliable to go for you physically served documents. It's a long, drawn-out, and honestly emotionally draining process, and potentially very expensive. Advocate Rubab Humza's team basically took all of that on. Acting for the Virmanis, they handled every single step on the ground, making sure all the legal requirements were ticked off properly, and that ultimately led to getting the flat vacated successfully. The crucial part, the Virmanis never had to set foot inside an Indian court.
Wow, okay. That alone sounds like a massive relief. But getting the tenants out wasn't the end of the story, was it? Because the property, unfortunately, wasn't left in great shape. So it wasn't just about getting it back, it was about making it livable again, rentable again. What kind of state are properties often left in after something like this? And how does a team manage renovations when the owner is so far away?
Yeah, sadly, that's pretty common. Defaulting tenants often means neglected maintenance. So you're looking at flats needing quite a bit of work, painting, deep cleaning, sometimes plumbing issues, electrical fixes, you name it. So a really key part of the service here was handling the renovation end to end. And this is where that trust factor with the professional team becomes absolutely essential. The team basically acted as the Virmanis project managers on the ground. They coordinated all the repairs, the upgrades, they found the vendors, checked the quality of the work, kept track of progress, and they sent updates back to Canada, photos, maybe videos, so the Virmanis could see what was happening. This made sure the flat was brought back up to standard, ready to attract good, reliable tenants quickly. which is important to stop the income loss from it just sitting empty. It's about getting that distressed asset performing again.
Right, turning it back into an income source. So, the flat's fixed up, looking good. Next step, find reliable new tenants. But as you know, that's usually more involved than just sticking a for rent sign in the window, especially for an NRI owner. What are the main sort of administrative, maybe legal steps involved in renting out property in India? And how did the team streamline this for someone in Canada?
This is where the depth of their service really comes through. And it ties back to something we mentioned earlier, that crucial tool, the power of attorney. Essentially, all the renting procedures, checking out potential tenants, verifying their backgrounds, drafting the actual rent agreement, and then the mandatory registration of that agreement with the local government office, the sub-registrar, all of that was handled completely by Advocate Rubab Humza's team. And the key, it was all done using a special power of attorney that the Virmanis had provided. Now, this isn't just any old POA. It's usually drafted very specifically for property management tasks. It needs careful witnessing and attestation, often through the Indian consulate or via an apostille process in Canada, to make it legally valid back in India. This careful preparation gives the team the legal power to act for the Virmanis without them needing to be there physically. It saves a huge amount of time, hassle, and frankly, expensive travel. It means the NRI doesn't need to fly big just to sign papers. It really underscores the trust involved, letting a team manage your legacy like that.
That does sound like a significant level of trust and efficiency. Okay, so tenants are in, the agreement's signed, registered. But then there's the money side, the ongoing management. It's one thing to collect the rent each month, but it's another to manage that income, especially when it eventually needs to end up in a Canadian bank account and you've got India's tax system to deal with. So what happens with the money once the rent starts flowing?
Right. The process is designed to be as smooth and, well, hands-off for the client as possible. Once the rent's collected, it gets deposited straight into the Virmanis bank account in India. Simple enough so far. But as you said, it doesn't stop there. To make sure everything's above board and compliant, the yearly taxes and filing the tax returns, that's all handled by the professional chartered accountants, or CAs. And this is a really critical point for NRIs. These aren't just any accountants. They're CAs who specifically understand the complexities of Indian tax law as it applies to non-resident Indians. This includes things like tax deducted at source, TDS, which often applies to rental income for NRIs, and also navigating things like double taxation avoidance agreements, the DTAs between India and Canada, to help ensure you're not taxed twice on the same income. So having that specialized CA expertise is vital for making sure everything's legal and also optimized financially.
Okay, that level of tax handling sounds like a huge weight off someone's shoulders. And then once the taxes are sorted, everything's compliant in India. The money doesn't just stay put in the Indian account, right? It needs to complete its journey.
Exactly. After all the tax formalities are done, any other compliances are met, the net amount, the actual rental income after deductions and taxes, is then transferred directly into the client's bank account in Canada. So it's this complete end-to-end financial management. It ensures the Virmanis get their rental income securely, legally, without dealing with any of the usual headaches of cross-border money transfers, currency conversions, wire fees, and all that. It really is a full-circle service. Property management, tenant issues, legal compliance, tax handling, and finally getting the funds internationally. It offers, well, unparalleled peace of mind.
This whole journey, really, from that initial default nightmare to getting funds in Canada, it absolutely highlights how crucial the team behind it all is. We mentioned Advocate Rubab Humza and her team earlier, but let's circle back to their role because it feels so central to this working out so well. What was it about how they worked that made this complicated situation feel, well, manageable for the Virmanis?
I think what really stands out is their proactive nature and just meticulous coordination. Advocate Rubab Humza and her team, they didn't just know the law, they really understood the specific challenges faced by international clients, by NRIs. Their coordination wasn't just about being efficient, it was actually tailored to international timings. That means they were really conscious of the time difference, scheduling calls, sending updates at times that worked for the Virmanis in Canada. They weren't just reacting to problems, they seemed to anticipate needs, plan steps in advance, and execute things with foresight. It's that mix of legal skill and really client-focused logistical planning that makes their service stand out.
That kind of thoughtful approach must make a huge difference. It's not just what you do, but how you do it, especially considering the distance. And part of that service, as we heard, was this commitment to keeping the client in the loop consistently and clearly. Was there a specific way their update system provided that reassurance?
Oh, definitely. The team made absolutely sure that clear, easy-to-understand status updates were sent at every key point. The This wasn't just, a random email once a month. We're talking updates when the tenants formally vacated, when the renovation work started, when they had shortlisted new potential tenants, when the new rent agreement was officially registered using that power of attorney, and even when the financial transfers were initiated. The Virmanis were kept informed every single step of the way. And it's that transparency combined with the proactive communication that really builds the trust and provides that immense peace of mind. For an NRI, it changes a distant property from maybe a source of worry into something that feels like a transparent, professionally managed investment. It really shows their dedication to offering, top-tier services specifically designed for NRIs, making that huge distance feel much less daunting.
So just to wrap up the Virmani family story with their Mira Road flat, it really went from A to Z, from the stress of tenants not paying and a rundown flat, all the way to successful recovery, a full renovation, getting good tenants back in, and setting up this robust, hassle-free financial system. It's a total turnaround from a liability back to a performing, stress-free asset.
And if we zoom out a bit, think about the lessons here for you, the listener. I think the first key takeaway isn't just about getting professional help, but realizing that having a single integrated service provider, someone handling the legal, the logistics, and the financial side, acts as your ultimate stand-in. It drastically cuts down on the nightmare of trying to coordinate multiple different vendors across different time zones, which is often what NRIs face. You're essentially buying peace of mind, not just paying for a task. And secondly, that power of attorney. It's not just a piece of paper, it's the strategic tool that empowers a trusted team to be your physical presence on the ground. It effectively makes the geographical distance almost irrelevant, legally speaking. Knowing how to set that up and empower it correctly is crucial for truly hands-off management.
Yeah, and that client-focused service we saw from advocate Rubab Humza's team really shines through. Their proactive work wasn't just talk. We saw it when they smoothly handled the power of attorney details all the way from Canada, when they managed the entire renovation without the Virmanis needing to fly over. And with those constant updates from eviction news right through to the final money transfer confirmation, it really does feel like they built a solid bridge, didn't they? Cutting through not just the physical distance, but also all that complex legal and bureaucratic stuff.
Absolutely. And this whole case, it really brings up a bigger point about the relevance of these kinds of comprehensive services today. As the world gets more connected, more and more people are managing assets in different countries. The value of specialized legal and property management services that offer this kind of efficiency and peace of mind becomes incredibly high. It's not just about fixing a problem right now. It's about optimizing how you manage your assets globally, protecting your wealth, and ensuring it grows over the long term.
So thinking about that increasing global connectivity and more people managing assets across borders, what does the success of a comprehensive service like the one we saw in the Virmani case really tell you about how international property ownership is changing? And maybe, what does it tell you about the vital role these dedicated teams play in protecting and actually growing your legacy? Something to maybe mull over the potential of truly hands-off yet completely transparent asset management.
If this episode helped simplify property legal matters for you, do share it with someone who might benefit. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment with your questions or case experiences, and don't forget to follow for more real case solutions from Rubab Humza and the team. Until next time, stay legally empowered.